think of sugar as just, well, the sweet stuff we put in our drinks. But what if I told you it's also one of the most fundamental building blocks of life? Today, we're going to get right into it and explore the world of the simplest sugars out there, the monosaccharides. So here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what monosaccharides actually are. Then we'll look at the two main ways scientists classify them. First, by looking for a special clue in their structure, and second, by just counting carbons. After that, we'll smash those two ideas together to create their full names. And finally, we'll talk about why any of this classification stuff really matters. All right, let's dive right in. Section 1. What in the world are monosaccharides? Okay, you've for sure heard of glucose and fructose, right? Glucose is like the main fuel for our bodies, and fructose is that sugar we find in fruit. But here is the thing that'll blow your mind. They have the exact same chemical formula, C6H12O6. So how can they be different? What is going on here? Well, that's the puzzle we're about to solve. Think of a monosaccharide like a single Lego brick. It's the absolute simplest form of a carbohydrate. You literally can't break it down into a smaller sugar. But just like with Legos, you can snap these little guys together to build these huge, incredible structures like starch or the stuff that makes up plant walls. So if they can have the same formula, how do chemists tell these simple sugars apart? Well, they have a couple of really clever tricks. The first one is all about hunting for one specific clue in their structure. It's called the carbonyl group. And you know what? It all just comes down to location, location, location. If you find that carbonyl group, that's the carbon with a double bond to an oxygen, sitting at the very end of the carbon chain, boom, you've got an aldose. But if that group is tucked away somewhere in the middle of the chain, that's a ketose. Simple as that. And would you look at that? Here's our answer. See on the left? That's glucose. Its carbonyl group is right there at the top, at the end of the chain. That makes it an aldose. Now look at fructose on the right. See how its carbonyl group is on the second carbon, kind of nestled inside the chain? That makes it a ketose. Same parts, just arranged differently. Mystery solved. Awesome. We've got the first part of the puzzle down. Now for the second piece. And honestly, this one's even easier. All you have to do is count. Let's just do a quick run-through. You'll get the hang of it fast. If a sugar has 3 carbons, we call it a triose. Easy enough, right? What about 4 carbons? You guessed it, that's a tetrose. And if we have 5 carbons? That gives us a pentose. And pentoses are super important. They form the backbone of our DNA and RNA. Okay, and for the big one, the most common size, with 6 carbons, we call that a hexose. And hey, that's the category both our buddies, glucose and fructose, fall into. So as you can see here, it's a really logical system. Tri, tetra, pent, hex, it's all based on those Greek prefixes we all learned at some point. Pretty straightforward. Okay, now for the grand finale. This is where it all comes together. We've got our first naming system, based on that carbonyl group, and our second, based on the carbon count. Let's see what happens when we combine them. Let's take our friend glucose again. We already figured out it's an aldose, right? And we know it's a hexose because it has 6 carbons. So what do you get when you put those two pieces of information together? Aldohexose. Isn't that cool? The two names just merge into one super descriptive word that tells you almost everything you need to know about its basic structure. So from now on, glucose isn't just glucose, it's an aldohexose. And this system works beautifully for all of them. Glucose is an aldohexose. Fructose, our ketose with 6 carbons, is a ketohexose. And what about ribose, that crucial sugar in our genetics? Well, it's an aldose with 5 carbons, which makes it an aldopentose. See? It just works. So, we've got the naming convention down, but you might be thinking, why? Why do we care so much about this? Why does the difference between an aldohexose and a ketohexose actually matter in the real world? Well, here's why. Because these names aren't just labels for a textbook. They describe the molecule's actual physical shape. And in biology, shape is everything. It determines how these molecules behave, how they react, and how our bodies can actually use them for energy. I mean, think about it. That tiny little difference between glucose and fructose, just where one atomic group is placed, completely changes how our bodies process them. It impacts their sweetness, how our liver metabolizes them, the whole shebang. It's just this perfect reminder that in science, sometimes the smallest, tiniest details end up having the most massive consequences. It really makes you wonder what other little details are out there, changing everything, just waiting for us to notice them.